Hit it.
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news. Oh yeah, oh yeah. He calls himself
Charlie.
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you are. Look how cute you are. Yeah.
Hey, Charlie. What's with the dark glasses?
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
Charlie Simons.
Charlie bit me.
Hoaxes, witch hunts, and impeachments. Then it was FBI raids, courtroom.
Elvis Presley and Pat.
Think about all they've done to Donald Trump. First it was hoaxes, witch hunts, and impeachments. Then it was FBI raids, courtrooms, and mugshots. Finally, it was bullets in a Pennsylvania field. And after all that, this man stood up with blood draining down his face, pumped his fists in the air, and told us to fight. Fight. Fight.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. And we will make America great again.
We know what they think of us.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
So if Donald Trump can get through all of that, we can get out to vote.
Oh, man. Technical difficulties on parade. Howdy, I'm Charlie Simons, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about, religion and politics. That's all I ever heard growing up. Don't talk about that. It's too divisive. I don't think we should have ever stopped talking about it. Then we were called the silent majority. Why were we silent? Why did we stay silent? So many things have been perpetrated against those who just love the American way of life, respect our United States Constitution, and live by it. And we're labeled somehow because I feel so blessed to be born in the United States of America. I'm somehow some kind of a nut. I'm some kind of a weirdo. How did that happen? Being patriotic made you some kind of garbage. Yes, Biden actually called Trump supporters garbage. That clown and clowns like him have been calling more than half the United States of American population names. Called us all different kinds of names, haven't they now? Deplorables, garbage, trash, terrorists. It's insane. And in the meantime, President Trump has called us patriots, called us Americans, fellow Americans. It's crazy. I'm so glad that the election is almost done. I don't feel real confident that my president will be able to even take office, though. They've already said they're not going to let him hold that seat again. They'll do whatever it takes to stop him from being sworn in for a second time as president of the United States. What is coming is going to be unlike anything I think we've ever seen before. And I just hope you're ready. I hope you're not easily fooled. I hope you're not listening to the media. Alternative media, sure, but the regular mainstream? No. Even Fox News. Never forget, in 2020, they called Arizona for Trump before the polls were even closed there. Don't trust the media. Don't listen to the media. And my friend, Rudy Rosselli, is on the show today. Major Rudy Rosselli, United States Army, retired. And here he is again. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello, buddy.
Hey, how you doing? Glad to be back again.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. I saw an article in the East Bay Times. I broadcast out of Northern California, and East Bay is the East Bay of San Francisco. And there's a newspaper there, a little goofy newspaper. And the author of this, or the supposed reporter, is named
Katie Lauer.
There it is, Katie Lauer. Yes, thank you very much. And it was a definite hit piece. They're trying to prop up this bag of bones, and he's 79 years old. I'm talking about John Garamendi, who was once lieutenant governor of the state of California and insurance commissioner, and now he's been in Congress in California, District 5, right?
No, District 8.
I'm sorry, District 8, for 15 years. He just keeps winning and winning and winning, despite doing a long collection of nothing, which is what his entire career has been. He votes with whatever the Democrat Party tells him to do, and then he makes sure he shows up for great photo ops and all the nice parties.
Yep.
That's John Garamendi.
Yep, that's him.
And just this past summer, he was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer. He's 79. What is wrong with these people? Why is he running again? And why are people supporting him? What is going on? I mean, Dianne Feinstein died in office, for heaven's sake. She should not have run again. It was crazy that when Joe Biden ran in 2020, 78, no, that's not too old. No, not at all. Look how vibrant he is. Now suddenly it's 2024, and Trump is too old to be running for president. He's 78.
Well, they wanted Biden to run.
And they were going to have Biden run again. That's right. Great point. It is insane what they do, while at the same time, don't ever forget, during the whole COVID shutdown, there was a whole year-long campaign by the Democrats to say everything's run by old white guys. We don't want any more old white guys. But yet that is the entire frickin' Democrat Party, isn't it?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, that's why I believe in age limits, not so much as term limits. I mean, if someone gets into Congress and they serve 20 years and they're 70 years of age, they did their bit, as we say in the Army. Once you've done your bit, do you really need to continue on anymore? Because you've served your country for over 20 years. There's no reason that you should continue to run. If anything, you should become maybe an advisor or, go on the lecture circuit, whatever. But you've already done your time in there. So there's no real reason for you to stay in. And then if you decide to run for Congress and you're in your 60s, then you could put a term limit on them for maybe, like House of Representatives, if you're 65 years old, 3 terms. And then if you're 70, 2 terms, whatever. If you're a senator, 2 terms. But that's about it. I mean, I think that once you've served in and you've done your time, it's time for you to, enjoy the rest of your life for the most part. We need to respect our elders in that manner.
The man is sick. And he's 79. And it's so funny to me. Every press release photo I see of John Garamendi, it's like the photo was taken in 1987. You don't see any current photos of him because he needs to be gone. He needs to be sitting on a back porch somewhere and writing his memoirs, whatever he wants to do. How I served the state of California and did absolutely nothing for 468 years, John Garamendi. This hit piece on you in the East Bay Times, this reporter referenced the disinformation that you were putting out. That's why we're not supposed to vote for you, because you put out some disinformation. What was that disinformation, Rudy?
Well, okay, so one of the things that I mentioned was that during Hurricane Helene, at the beginning of Hurricane Helene, they were putting in flight restrictions in the area. And now keep in mind that FEMA didn't respond for about a week. They were very slow to respond, if anything. I think we can all agree that they were slow to respond. And there were people that were trying to fly drones to get them up in the air so that they could help identify, places where people might need help. There were people that were trapped on roofs. There were people that were trapped, in trees. There were bodies that were, as waters receded, there were bodies in the trees. But the point being is that the FAA and well, actually, the FAA, DOT, Department of Transportation put flight restrictions in the area. Now, the article does state that there were flight. Then that's the funny part about it. The article does state that there were flight restrictions that were lifted. So, how was I providing disinformation when there were restrictions in place that were lifted at some point? And that's what I was referring to, is the fact that when the DOT and FAA start putting restrictions on airspace, then what's the next area that they can go in to start putting restrictions into? Not necessarily the DOT, but the federal government. How can they start going in and restricting more and more things? How much more are they going to take control? Because those are steps towards, towards socialism, towards communism, to where they're going to start taking more control of our lives than they already have. And that's what I was upset about. And that's what I was referencing in the article, was the fact that the DOT had started taking control
Yeah,
in
Transportation
those areas.
Secretary Pete Buttigieg
Hmm.
absolutely lied about that. As a matter of fact, I had on my show one of the pilots who was
Hmm.
flying in provisions and trying to fly out survivors who needed to evacuate, and FEMA wasn't doing it.
Hmm.
And he told me, "Oh, absolutely, there's restrictions. They're telling us we can't go in there, we can't fly in there, we can't take people out."
Hmm.
Can't take people out, even though we got room on our helicopters and airplanes. We can't evacuate people. They were not allowed
Exactly.
to. That's not a restriction to you, Katie Lauer, East Bay Times?
Yeah. And that's, she's just singing the party line for the most part when it comes to that type of stuff, and just taking that one route. There was another story that I was talking about, a veteran in New York. Now, there was a couple of different stories. Now, so there were some fraudulent stories, and there was also this one real story that I had seen, about a veteran that was kicked out of a nursing home, to make room for migrants. And he was he they gave him about a month to figure out what he was going to do, and they told him that he had to evacuate or leave his room. And then once he left his room, luckily his daughter took him in. But bottom line up front is that a veteran was kicked out of a nursing home to make room for the migrants. Now, there was another story that she cited that was a false story, that 20 people posed as veterans being kicked out of a hotel, and that was pretty well documented. But I think it was a repeated story. But point being is that the story that I was referencing was about this 90s, I think it was 93-year-old veteran, that was kicked out of, or evicted out of his, nursing home to make room for migrants.
We
And it
know
didn't
that's
take me
going
that
on.
long to find it.
We know that's going on here in California and in the state of New York, at least.
Hmm.
That's been documented. We know it's happening. And when she referenced, well, here's proof that it's not actually happening, it was one area, one town I haven't even heard of. I still don't know where that was.
Hmm.
Uh,
It was in Orange County.
is it in Orange County? Okay,
Hmm.
she didn't make that clear. Uh, the simple fact that it's going on, maybe not in that one instance, was what she used to say. See, everything's wrong. It's all
Hmm.
disinformation, and that's what they do in the media.
Yeah.
Pick one example, and that's it. They pick and choose. It's like cafeteria news reporting. Pick what you
Hmm.
like and keep all the rest. Don't take anything else. Now, what else
Yeah.
did supposedly she say that you had stated that was wrong?
Well, she said that I was kind of weak on that. So, on those two stories, and for the most part. And then she mentioned about she was talking about how I supported Trump. Um, and it was Prop 47. That was the other thing. And she stated that I was saying that crime rates were going up, and the fact that not a lot of reporting was being done by different organizations or companies, because due to the fact that if they start reporting that they're losing, that they're being, that people are stealing from them all the time, and they're constantly putting these insurance claims, what's going to happen? The insurance company is going to be like, well, why don't you beef up security? And Prop 47 really doesn't allow that. And she cited that Prop 47 only provided a modicum of rise in some crime. And when the fact of the matter is that Prop 47 really opened the gates to allow people to, or allow thieves or people that want to do bad things to steal even more. And that's what I was saying, is that, hey, we need to make changes in our country in order to make that happen. And I provided some solutions that could happen, that we could put in place. But bottom line up front is that she made this statement, or posted a link, that Prop 47 only provided a modicum of rise. And if that's the case, then how come so many businesses are leaving San Francisco? And it's really not hard to look up. There's articles out there. One of them's the headline is the impact of Prop 47 on crime in San Francisco. It's not hard to look it up to see the impact of Prop 47 on crime in our whole entire state. So, but she was saying that, what I was talking about was unfounded for the most part. It's only the little bit of crime. Is a little bit of crime okay?
Yeah. How much is okay? How much is acceptable?
Exactly. So these are the types of things that she had posted. But the nice part about the article, in my opinion, is that at least she direct quoted me in the article. And the direct quotes that she quoted for me, I think if people actually read them, they'll understand where I'm coming from.
I think the other good thing about the article is the fact that she, when the rest of the media has ignored it, she actually put in John Garamindi's age and the fact that he has cancer.
Mm-hmm.
The media has been completely ignoring that. Never said a thing about his age, never said a thing about his illness. Why is he still running? Why do these people continue? What is in their DNA? What's in their mindset? What do they get out of it? I'd love to know, at that age and with that illness and having served as long as he has, why is he running again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's running. Well, and I inquired of that from the voter registrar's office, and said, well, and I was tried to put it in the best light and say, look, I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that, but the fact that he's publicly stated that he has this cancer, what would happen if he decided to drop out? And because it was past the cutoff date in August, regardless, his name would end up being on the ballot. So even if he dropped out at any time, his name is still going to be on the ballot for November. And then if he decides to step down, they would have to have another special election in order to figure out who's going to take his spot. So that's the way it would work out if he were to drop out himself. But I believe that he was diagnosed with cancer during the campaign. So, it's still his choice to run or not. I mean, but again, at 78 years old, at what point 79 years old.
My question is, though, what in your mind, having served admirably and honorably the way you have almost your entire life in the military and with the USDA and different things that you've done, and the experience that you have of actually getting things done, unlike him sitting there going, oh, they want me to vote this way? Okay. It's baffling to me. What is the mindset? Why did the Dianne Feinsteins, the Nancy Pelosi's, these crypt keepers. Why does Chuck Schumer and people like Joe Biden, when they're way past their prime, they already have cognizant problems? Why do they keep running? That's my question. You, as a leader of many, many men and large units and logistics in the Army, what is that mindset, do you think, that makes them continue even though they should have quit?
Oh, I mean, so I'm 56 years old, and one of the things is that, hey, if I get elected, if the people choose me to run, I'm not going to stay in office forever. I hit 65, 67. Hey, I'm eligible for Social Security. Hey, I'm done. But for someone like, there are people out there that think that the world will not function without them.
Do you think that's it, really? Do you really think that it's that level of arrogance?
Well,
I'm asking a serious
yeah,
question. I'm
I,
really
I
curious.
yeah, because so I ran 2 cycles ago, and 2 cycles ago there were 5 other Democrats that were running as well. They all challenged John Garamendi. They weren't able to, mount much of a challenge because he was the one that was running. But bottom line up front is that he still ran. You know, there were young people that were willing to step up to the plate and to take his place, but unfortunately, they weren't able to mount much of a challenge, and the people just didn't know their names for the most part. And I beat out all the other 5 Democrats, and then was finally in the general election with John Garamendi. But for the most part, I just think that he's running because like I said, there's a lot of people who feel that, hey, nobody else can do it but me. So that's why I'm continuing to run. And he hasn't, because he doesn't make the news all that much, and nobody's beat him up all that much.
No.
He's just, willing to stay in there for as long as he can stay in there.
He said, let me see if I can find this quote here. For the 15 years that I've been in Congress has given me the knowledge, the experience, and the position to bring to my district the benefits of existing legislation and additional legislation that I will be able to promote. And it took 15 years on top of everything else that you've done to finally get to that level of competence, you think? No, you've really done a lot of nothing other than just do whatever they tell you to do. And I think about the constituents. I think about the voters who just keep reelecting these
Well, you know what they say, vote blue no
fossils.
matter who.
Vote blue no matter who. That's that's exactly right. But you said there were 5 Democrat challengers in the last election, and none of them even stood a chance. I don't know what you thought of any of them, if any of them actually had some good ideas. I think it's to a level now where somebody or something or some consortium of clowns are all calling the shots for the state of California, and everybody knows it. So
Well,
they want people like Garamendi who are going to just toe the line and do whatever they say. I think that is much of it as well.
Well, yeah, but also at the same time, for candidates like myself, getting our names out there, regardless of whether it's good press, bad press, whether they say we're passing disinformation or providing good information, regardless of what it is, it's a challenge. I mean, to get our names out there. I mean, we've got over 400,000 people in our district, in District 8, and that are registered voters, and 250,000 are the ones that actually vote. And how do you get your name out to 250,000 people? It's not easy to do, to get your name out there, and knocking on that many doors. You're not going to be able to knock on that many doors to get your name out there. So it is a challenge for grassroots people like myself in order to get out there and finding donations or getting people to donate so that you can make a bigger splash on YouTube or on the news media. And the news media aren't going to reach out to us because
No.
any publicity that they give me is going to take away from their front runner. And in this case, it's going to be John Garamendi. And even in the primaries, it's going to be the same way. I was lucky enough once to be interviewed by Orko Manna on KCRA, and they did a compare and contrast between John Garamendi and me, and it was pretty decent. He was, it was fair and balanced. But again, any publicity that they give to the opposition, or any other candidates, is going to take away from their big dog.
Yeah, and so they don't, and that's why you have to have money to be able to actually force them to let you get your word out through advertising.
Mm-hmm. Well, but
Unfortunately.
but
Because
even
the media
in,
used to be, that was our job, to let you know about these candidates and to be involved in local elections and to help get the word out. Here's your choices. Here's what they think. Here's what they believe. Here's a town hall. Here's a debate. We used to do that. We don't do that anymore.
yeah, and that's true. And I mean, there are I've seen other Republicans that that raised a ton of money in deep blue districts, and unfortunately, it didn't work for them. And for the most part, the question is, has it gotten bad enough in your district that you want to get out and vote? And that's the big challenge. And
Yeah.
there's so many people that are just disheartened, that are like, well, my vote's not going to count. Well, but if you're not going to vote at the top of the ticket, then you need to vote on the local issues, because there's a lot of local issues that are coming out, a lot of different measures that come out in your area that makes a difference. And we're talking about the difference of, 5 or 10 votes determine whether a particular measure passes or doesn't pass. And so it's really important that people get out there and vote, and your vote does count. It may, you may not feel that it counts at the top of the ticket, but definitely it counts at the bottom of the ticket, because we've lost a lot of races by less than 50 votes, less than 10 votes, and in some cases, 1 vote.
Wow.
So, yeah, I
Wow.
mean, that has happened in city of Antioch. There was 3 seats that could have been overturned by less than 15 votes. A total of 15 votes. We're talking like 3 votes for one, 2 votes for another, and like 8 votes for another seat. So your vote does count, especially at the local levels. And believe it or not, a congressional race is considered a local level race. So, yeah, I mean, your vote does make a difference. So you do need to get out there and vote. And here in California, get your ballot in early, because you never know what's going to happen on election day.
Right.
So get your vote in early, walk it down there to your elections office, your voter registrar's office, whatever it is, drop it off right there at their office, and make sure that your vote gets counted. And you can check it on ballot tracks. So if you go to Secretary of State for California and look up ballot tracks, you can track where your ballot ends up. So it's really important that you vote.
That's good to know. Thank you for that info. I'm voting tomorrow after church. I'm not going to wait until election day, which I've been doing. But with President Trump saying this is another way that they're cheating now, by things going wrong on election day and running out of ballots, like what they did in Arizona with Kerry Lake. He's saying don't fall for that. Don't this time, this year, this election, until we can get good people in there and actually fix our completely polluted election system. We need to vote early. So I'm following that advice. I am tomorrow. And you mentioned propositions. Please vote yes on Prop 36.
Yes, definitely vote yes on Prop 36.
And everything else, a flat out no. Because it's all proposed by Democrats. Why would I want anything that they have to do? Why would I think that they have any solutions when they've had all this time to get things done, and all I've seen is them do everything they can to dismantle and destroy my once golden state? Yep. So yes on Prop 36. Everything else, forget about it.
Exactly. And it really is important that you get your vote in early, because at least with ballot tracks whether they've received your vote or not, and that it's been counted. Because I mean, just like in Oregon and Washington, you heard about those ballot boxes being set on fire. So how many more shenanigans can take place before the election? So at least with ballot tracks, whether your vote gets in, whether it's been counted. And if it's not, then you can walk yourself down to the voter registrar's office or your elections office and say, hey, have you received my ballot? I sent it in. I haven't received a word that it's been counted or not. And then at least you can submit a provisional at that point.
What do you say to anyone who says, "Well, I'll just mail it in. I've got until Tuesday. As long as it's postmarked before that, I'll just mail it in."
Well, okay, so I know that there are certain counties where sometimes they get so many of the ballots and then they stack them in a tray, which they're supposed to take and deliver to the voter registrar's office, and sometimes they just sit there. And so there are things like that that have happened because they get so many in at one time. And remember, all of these go to a local post office. And a lot of us live in relatively small towns. So, for example, the town of Fairfield, which is the county seat, is going to get all 400,000 voter registrations, or 200,000, the ones that get submitted in. Though all of those are going to be going into that one little post office, and they just get stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked, and they can only put so many in a mail carrier to get them over to the voter registration's office in order for them to process it. So
and that only counts if you actually take your mail-in ballot and mail it through either
the USPS,
an actual post office container, or take it to a post office and put it in to be mailed. If they're picking it up from your home, let me tell you what else has been going on that nobody's talking about. I have friends who work for the Postal Service who have told me in confidence that there are letter carriers who, if you have a flag flying on your house, your ballot's never making it back to the post office. It's going to get lost somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a Trump sign, or you have anything like that, anything that looks patriotic, your ballot is not. These are union employees, have their nice cushy government job. They're all on board. They don't want things to change because they like the way that things are for them. Your ballot is not going to make it to the post office. I'm not saying every letter carrier is like that, but how many does it take? There are a lot that are, according to people I know who work for the Postal Service who have told me this. It's common knowledge, but I never hear anyone talking about it. So the point is, go to your polling place. Please make that effort, and you can find out where they're open. For example, in my area, this one is open today and tomorrow and Monday. So I'm going tomorrow after church, and I'm gonna take my mail-in ballot unopened, because if they say, "Well, it shows here that you've already voted," no, I have not, and here's the proof. I'm going to turn that in for an actual handheld ballot, fill it out right there, watch them put it in, and then I know that I've done everything I can to make sure that they're not going to be able to cheat, at least not with my vote.
Well, and even after that, make sure that you register at ballot tracks, because even though you saw that whole process happen, you need to have confirmation that the state knows that you did vote. Because they're going to report it that Charlie.
I'm glad you told me about that. Where do we find that?
So you go to the secretary, just do a search for Secretary of State, California ballot tracks, or track my ballot.
Okay.
That's all you have to do.
Okay.
And you put in California Secretary of State, because every state has got their own version of tracking ballots. So you want to put in there California Secretary of State, track my ballot.
That's good to know. Your district 8, not San Francisco, but awfully close to it. So much so that they're all in love with San Francisco, so they call themselves the East Bay, even though they're really nowhere near a bay.
Well, we are near the bay.
Okay, where?
We're just on the east side of it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a whole San Francisco Bay in that area. We're just on the east side of it.
All right. Okay, I'll let you get away with that. But I just think that they're so in love with the city. It's crazy. But they can't. It's been ruined, and they can't even afford to live in the city that they're so in love with. So they have to move further out just to be able to live there and commute in. I don't want to live that kind of lifestyle personally, but what we've had 4 years now of the Democrats' full-on display of who they really are and what they want.
Yes,
and it's pure socialism.
Yes,
it's not even hidden anymore. The things that Kamala Harris has been saying and so on. It should be scaring people to death and running away from anything with a D after its name. But that's not the case, at least not in your area, is it? Why is that? What's it going to take for these people to wake up?
Well, I think this cycle it's going to be a little bit different in the sense that people are going to get out and vote their party lines for whomever they feel like they're going to vote for, but they may not vote at the top of the ticket. They may choose to not vote at the top of the ticket because they don't feel that either candidate is worth their vote. So they may vote the bottom half of the ticket, and that does happen. So it's the other thing is that of a lot of people who vote on the Democrat side, a lot of their reasonings for voting is emotional, and they always put that emotion in there, feeling that the Democrats are the ones that care about the people, when in fact it's the exact opposite, they're and a lot of times it's because of where they're getting their information from. So if you're watching the mainstream media, if you're watching a lot of that, that's where you're getting a lot of your information from. And then you're also getting information from other Democrats who are feeling the same way as you are, versus looking up the information yourself to find out what's really going on. For example, like I mentioned in the article about Hurricane Helene. Now, that was just one view that she had, where it stated that the fact that the flight restrictions were lifted, but you don't pay attention to the fact that they were in place prior. So just the fact that they were lifted. So, and it's those little nuances that sometimes people don't hear or want to pay attention to, because the fact that they were lifted, the flight restrictions were lifted, and people were allowed to go in, and they didn't restrict flights for trying to help people out. But it took 5 days for that to happen, and a lot of people died because
Yep.
it took 5 days for it to happen.
Yeah.
And they were restricting the flights during those times.
Yes.
So, and there was a lot of confusion going on at that time, and they don't want to recognize those type of things. And that's one drastic way that people don't pay attention. And so I think that, it's same thing happens on the right as well. There are a lot of people on the right that, they have whatever that they're listening to, and they're not paying attention to anything else as well. So they just vote one way. So people themselves have got to pay a modicum of attention, just a modicum. I'm not asking for a lot. And people always ask me, so how do I get involved? I don't have much time. I'm like, look, just pay attention to that one thing that is important to you. If it's education, then pay attention to education. If it is streets and sanitation, then pay attention to streets and sanitation. And when it comes up in your city council, they have to publish out those agendas all the time, or when they're talking about it in national news, what tax cuts they're going to give or how much taxes they're going to give. Pay attention to those things that you're most passionate about. And if you do that much, then you'll be paying attention more than the average person.
What are your chances? Have you heard? Do you have any idea?
Don't know. People just need to get out there and vote. You need to get out and vote. Last time I ran in the last cycle, I got 27% of the vote. So hopefully this time around, people are just more concerned with what's going on and will make a choice and then make a difference. So it's really up to you. I have talked to I've met with a lot of Democrats that actually, when I saw them for the second time, they're like, guess what? I said, what? And he goes, well, I voted for you. And I'm like, oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So I think that there's a lot of Democrats that are seeing the light, and hopefully more independents will, and non-party preference, and all the other people in the middle will get out there and make a choice and vote.
I hope so too. I want you to win. I want people like you to win. We need it. This is our last ditch effort as far as I'm concerned. And if anybody on my side of the aisle, on the Republican side, is going to sit out this election, I'm squarely putting the blame on you. And if you say that your vote doesn't count, or whatever fill in the blank reason that you use, let me tell you this: your inaction, your apathy, has created what we are suffering through now. And if you think it's going to get any better, or that's okay, when I retire, I'm moving out of California anyway. As California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. And if
Mhm.
this state completely financially collapses, what do you think is going to be the outcome on the rest of the country?
It's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. And, we need to keep Californians in California because we don't need to California the whole United States. And every time that they leave, they're going somewhere else and they're making the same decisions as they would here.
Yeah,
And that's the reason why they left.
it's
So
weird.
then
It's
they go
weird.
somewhere else and they make that place California. No, we need to keep Californians in California so that way we can make a change here versus changing everywhere else. We need to leave those other states alone and keep Californians here. Besides that, what other state has got geography like California? What other state has got the weather like California? What other state has got all the beautiful things that we have here in California? We just need to make a difference in our voting. We need to make a difference in our local elections. And we need to put the right people in place in order to fix our own state. We lost one electoral vote because so many people left. Well, we need to keep the rest of those Californians here.
Amen.
That's what we need to do. We need to
Rudy,
fix our own state.
where do we find you? Rudy Rosselli. Where do we
Yeah.
find you? How do we get a hold of you? How do we help?
You can find me at rudy4foruscongress.com. Again, that's rudy4foruscongress.com. You can go there, look up information about me, donate to me, and more important, you need to go out and vote for me. Or tell your friends that are in the Fairfield, Solano County, Northern Contra Costa County area, or anywhere they might find my name on a ballot, just to let them know, hey, if you're in that Solano County area, you might see his name on the ballot, vote for Rudy. Because that happens. And there are precincts outside my area, outside my district lines and my name end up being on their ballot. So if you see my name on the ballot, vote for me.
There you go.
It's the best way you can do it.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. When I saw that article, I was like, oh, I got to get you on. Because they're not going to turn around and let you counter any of these claims that this reporter put in that story. Everybody just takes it as a gospel. And
Right.
I know it's not true. You know it's not true. And now anybody who's watching this knows it's not true. That's
Right.
not disinformation. Everything you said is absolutely true.
Right.
I'm
But
just sick of the media.
yeah, and the good part is that she direct quoted me, and the last portion of that article, if you read it, the last sentence of the article basically states what I always state: if you don't have faith, family, or freedom, how can you make moral decisions for your constituents in your district? You need to have faith, family, and freedom in order to keep our Constitution the way it is and to keep our country free. You need to be able to have those three things. And, in some cases, some people don't have it in spades and they don't really think about what they're doing. So at least she direct quoted me in many areas. And by direct quoting me, at least hopefully people will see that it's a direct quote from me.
Good. Right on, brother. Hang in there.
So we'll do. We got to make the fight.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off right at the very end. What'd you say again? I missed
So
that.
we got to make that fight. Got to get that fight out there. So remember, fight, fight, fight. Got to fight for our rights.
Exactly. All right. You want to help this show? You can do that by supporting the companies that support us. It's MyPillow, mypillow.com/Lee. My middle name, Lee, can get you up to 75% off American-made products. Over 100 products now at Mike Lindell's online store. He had to go online. All the big box stores pulled all of his products off their shelves. Screw Walmart. They were the last ones. You're out. So go to mypillow.com/Lee, mypillow.com/Lee. And also freedomswitchusa.com/Lee, freedomswitchusa.com/Lee. You don't need box stores anymore. You don't need fire the big corporations. Over 400 products there. Food, stuff for your body, inside and out, stuff for your home. Please do yourself a favor and go to freedomswitchusa.com/Lee. That way you can be, that way they know that I sent you. And watch that little video that my friend Ron Lyons made, and he explains how the whole thing works. They don't advertise. It's all word of mouth. It's freedomswitchusa.com/Lee. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America, but most importantly, America bless God.